UFC 323 just ended the ESPN era, and it did so in spectacular fashion. Sure, the co-main event was a wild, disgusting fluke injury, but overall, UFC 323 was a spectacular fight card that crowned two new champions. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks, and I'm going to recap and react to every single fight from UFC 323. Before we talk about the fights, let's talk about the bets. Jacob continues to be king. We had a couple of spectacular highlights on this card. The Bet Sam Slam of the Week won. That is 10 of the last 11 Slam of the Weeks. Jacob hit his lock of the week, who was Manuel Torres, and his bets on that fight were Manuel to win by first round finish and then Manuel to win by second round finish. He hit a plus 300 bet there. And obviously we have had two new champions. Jacob remains up, and the fact that he was up money with losing 3 units on a freak injury with Pantoja is absolutely insane. Here's a look at what Jacob's been doing. If you're a premium member, if you've gone to WeWantPicks.com, you've seen Jacob's bets over the last couple of months, and you've seen what he's been doing, and hopefully you've been tailing, because Jacob is the king of the castle. On this fight card, he was up. He has been up 8 of the last 10 fight cards. On his live streams, if you don't know, for every fight card, he is just, well, almost every fight card, he is sitting there live with you for 7 hours, placing bets, hanging out with the boys, and it was up $1,500 something. Thank you all for watching that. He had over 50,000 views on tonight's live stream, and Jacob just continues to absolutely rock the house for premium members. His premium bets have been unbelievable. His premium bets combined with Bet Sam Slam of the Week have been unstoppable the last 5, 6, 7 months or so. And here's a look at what we got going on. Next week, we have UFC Vegas 112. There are already bets on the website for those cards. Then after that, we have a short break for the holidays, and we jump to Paramount, and we hit UFC 324 and then UFC 325. The UFC is announcing new fights every single day. And as the announcements pop up, so do the betting odds, and the boys place some bets. If you want to check out every single bet that we have for UFC Vegas 112, UFC 324, UFC 325, and all the other announced fight cards, go to WeWantPicks.com. I recommend, it's just me, you take a look at what Jacob's doing. He seems to be the hot hand. Obviously, there are more fights being announced every single day, so more bets being placed every single day. Check it all out right now, WeWantPicks.com. Just click Become a Member at the top. Let's go ahead and talk about this fight card. This was a great fight card. And what's funny is, in true fight card fashion, my buddy came over. He doesn't watch a lot of fights with me. He does watch fights, but he doesn't watch a lot with me at my house. He came over for the main card. For the undercard, I watched it. I was running some errands. I was watching on my phone, watching at the restaurant, watching at the house. But for the main card, I was home, I was dialed in, and he came over. And I said, hey, that undercard was spectacular. We didn't see a single judge's scorecard for 9 fights outside of Marvin Vettori, but we all knew that was going to happen. We basically didn't see a single judge's scorecard for 9 fights. I promise you this main card will only be judge's scorecards. And it was. The good news, though, it wasn't just boring bullshit. We didn't get Nurmagomedov. We had some back and forth wars. So yeah, we hit the door scorecards outside of a freak injury. But this entire card was fun. And we opened up with Myron Santos and Muhammad Naimov. This fight was decent. Obviously, it ended by finish. Myron Santos knocked out Muhammad Naimov early in the 3rd round. But this wasn't a wild back and forth war. In this fight, at least to me, it seemed like Myron Santos was just this much better than Muhammad Naimov everywhere. Just this much better in the wrestling. And Myron Santos was at the point where he was offensive wrestling. This much better with the striking, this much better with the range management, this much faster, this much stronger, just a tiny bit better. And the accumulation of being a little bit better everywhere resulted in Myron Santos doing well. And what's interesting with Myron is he's not a dominant guy, and he won this fight by finish, but you didn't watch that fight leading up to the finish waiting for the finish. It's not as though you watched Myron Santos beat the piss out of Muhammad Naimov and you're just waiting for it to end. Like, if Payton Talbot finished Henry Cejudo, you'd be like, I get it, right? Like, he was just landing and accumulating. It was leading up to that point. That's not what this fight looked like. Because Muhammad Naimov was having some success and he would land clean a few times, But then Mairon Santos would respond. Mairon Santos was literally just this much better everywhere, and it resulted in a very solid win and ultimately a finish early in the third round. Nothing to take away from Muhammad Naimov. He went forward, he fought, he tried to wrestle, didn't work. He tried to strike, didn't work. He tried to do what he could do, and ultimately everybody's got a ceiling, and this was his. But Mairon Santos looked good. He was fast, he was clean, he was accurate, he took his time, he doesn't rush. And Mairon Santos is going to be an interesting guy because, again, I know he won by finish. I watched the fight with my eyes. He's not like a super fun guy, but he is very good, but he's also not boring. So he's not like a boring, wet blanket Grant Dawson style wrestler, but he's also not this wild, exciting knockout artist. So he's somewhere in between where he's doing well, he's finding finishes, but he's not doing it in a way where I think the UFC is going to invest in him. But he is very, very, very good, and we need to remember that come his next fight. I think we all collectively picked him to win. I think a few people were on the Naimov side, but I think most of us, me included, were like, hey, this kid is fast, he's clean, he's accurate, good takedown defense, he should win this fight. But then we saw the takedown offense as well. So great win for Mairon Santos. I didn't leave it being like, this guy's amazing, but I left it being like, this man, if he keeps improving at this rate, this is going to be an interesting kid to watch. That took us to the Mansur Abdul-Malik fight versus Antonio Trocoli. The LOL in this caption is not for him. It's for Antonio Trocoli. This dude's a black belt. This dude's huge. He's long. He's rangy. He's all these things just to get guillotined 2 fights in a row pretty freaking quick. How the hell do you keep getting guillotined? He doesn't have, what's his name? Who's that fighter with the neck that looks like an alpaca? What the hell is his name? I can picture him, but what the hell's his name? It's not Zellhuber. I keep thinking it's not Zell. I forget his name. I'm sure one of you will let me know. It's not like Trocoli has a neck like a freaking red oak. He's just got a normal neck. It just keeps getting snatched. Mansur Abdul-Malik moved forward, landed a bunch of clean strikes, shot a takedown, and reminded us about the Division I wrestling because he ran through that takedown attempt. He had a double, and he literally just sprinted. He sprinted across the cage, landed that, just like ran right through it. Then there was a little bit of scramble, snatched the neck, and that's what we have here. You got to cut Trocoli at this point. He can't find a UFC win. He did the UFC a favor 2 fights ago, short notice across the world. He fought Shara Bullet. Then he came back, loses the Treson Gore. Now he's losing here. That's enough losses, buddy. You're not winning fights. That's enough losses. Back to the regional scene. And he's an asshole. He's the guy, if you go look up Bobby Green's telling of a story where he thought Mackenzie Dern was flirting with him, and Mackenzie texted him being like, oh, meet me here. And he was like, yeah, fuck, I'm about to fuck. And he thought he was going to meet Mackenzie Dern. And it was this psychopath. Great story. This dude's a lunatic. Cut him. He's done. Mansur Abdul-Malik absolutely ran through Antonio Trocoli, which maybe some people respect Cody Brundage a little more after this. But good for Mansur Abdul-Malik. He did what he was supposed to do as a minus 1,200 favorite. No surprises here whatsoever. But, let's continue to see what this Division I wrestler can do. He's got big hands. He's got wrestling. And now he can squeeze the necks of people whose necks have been squozen before. That took us to the best 90 seconds of the year. Now, I was just talking to my wife, and she said that I have given her the best 90 seconds of her life. This was the best 90 seconds of the year. So not her entire life, but if you're watching fights and you're hanging out, this is the best 90 seconds of the year. These dudes got after it. And when I say 90 seconds, I'm not exaggerating. It was actually technically 89 seconds. This was an 60 seconds in a minute, and then 29, 60, 70, 89. 89 seconds, I was correct. It was an 89-second fight. And, both of these guys were knocked out. Both of them were winning. Ultimately, Iwo won. I had to bet on him. I got him at minus 140. He ballooned up to minus 200 on some books. This was just a slobber knocker. This picture is a perfect embodiment of what this fight was. They're both just launching giant overhand rights, or these are more hooks than overhands. Iwo's is landing. Ibo's is just this far behind. And that's what this fight was. This was a really fun, just what kind of fight. These guys got after it. Look at Mark Goddard all dialed in doing his job. Good for him. This was a fun fight. This is what has built this sport. These fights are the fights that got UFC this $7.7 billion deal on Paramount. These fights. Because you know what? A few years from now, you might not remember Ibo Aslan and what he did with his career, or Iwo Baraniewski, but you will remember some wild fights you saw. And if this fight was free on CBS or even Paramount Plus has 10 times the amount of subscribers that ESPN Plus does. So the amount of eyes on that are going to be insane. But even if it was on Paramount Plus or CBS, wherever it is, and you watch this fight, and you're not a huge fight fan, but you saw this fight, you're new to the sport, you just remember it being an absolute banger, and you were like, oh my God, now him, and then you leave it a fan of the sport. All of us at some point in time got sucked into a fight like this early in our fandom. I can only hope we continue to get bangers like this moving forward on Paramount. This was just an unbelievable fight. Don't cut Ibo. Ibo's struggling. I mean, he's struggling. He doesn't have the best UFC record right now. He's struggling a little bit. 3 losses in a row. He got knocked out in this fight. Decision losses last fight. A sub before that. But you got to keep, why? Why would you cut him? You got to keep people like him. He is fun. He is exciting. He brings the heat. Outside of that staring contest with Billy Elikana, you got to keep him. In Iwo to step up on short notice against a guy is dangerous. And what I loved here is that Ibo, black shorts, very dangerous, hits very hard. Iwo, red hair and red shorts, was not afraid to engage. He didn't just desperately shoot takedowns after he got rocked a few times. He bit down his mouthpiece and let his hands go. Great fight, back and forth, super fun, good on both of them. I'm recording this immediately following the event, so I don't know who got bonuses and who didn't get bonuses. If these two didn't get bonuses, we need to write letters to our congressman because something is corrupt. Notify the FBI, write a letter to your congressman. If these two gentlemen didn't make extra money for their performances, what a scam this whole thing is. And then we had the return of Jalin Turner. And welcome back, Jalin. When Jalin Turner left, I sat here in this chair, probably 20 pounds lighter than I am right now. I've been gaining weight at a remarkable pace. I believe science is going to study me and my weight gain. But I broke it down and I was like, Jalin, you're 30 freaking years old. You are 6'3" at this weight class. You got good striking, you got good grappling, you got great submissions, you got a lot of finishes. Do not retire. That is stupid. You are still very good. You got a lot of years left. Retiring right now would be an obscene thing to do. And now here he is. He found Jesus. I don't know how. I don't know if he went to church or he's in a river and he saw him in a river. I don't know how he found him. His birthday's coming up. I don't know how he found him, but he found Jesus. And he came out here like a man possessed by the devil. He looked fantastic. He was landing clean. He didn't really let Barboza get going. He just bloodied him up early, was moving forward, working at range, working in the pocket, elbows, knees, punches. Like, he looked fantastic. This is the worst beating Edson Barboza has taken in the last 5 years. And statistically speaking, Jalin Turner is the worst person Edson lost to, meaning Jalin Turner has 9 losses. Edson Barboza, the combined record of every opponent he has lost to in the last 11, his last 11 losses, which is like 10 years or something crazy, had 8 total losses. And I might be messing those stats up just a hair. But the point is, losing to Jalin doubled the losses of his combined opponents' records. And Jalin beat the absolute piss out of him. Jalin Turner looked fantastic here. This is not... Edson Barboza still has some life left. He physically looks fantastic. Let's give him... all right, let's knock him down a little bit. Let's give him somebody a little more reasonable and see what he looks like here, because he is getting up there in age. He's been in some wars. But Jalin looked fantastic. Welcome back, Jalin. He looked unbelievable. This was the old Jalin. This was a throwback to what made Jalin Jalin. Long, rangy, powerful, not afraid to engage. This is the guy that knocked Bobby Green into oblivion. And basically what happened with Jalin, I'm assuming, the way he beat Bobby Green was like bad. The referee didn't stop it. He knocked Bobby out bad. The referee basically made him continue to hit him. And it was bad. And Jalin was different from that point forward, to the point where it was like, did that mess you up? Maybe. But Jesus said, hey, don't worry. Up, down, left, right. Couple of Hail Marys. Get back at it. And he got back at it. Jalin Turner looked absolutely fantastic in this fight. And then we had Marvin Vettori and Bruno Ferreira. I disagreed with this decision. I thought Marvin Vettori won. With that being said, would I call it a robbery? No. This was very close. It could have gone either way. It just felt like Marvin Vettori was doing a little more, a little cleaner, a little better. It looked like he was the one moving forward. Brunno was obviously landing the bigger shots because he would just bite down and throw overhand. But it doesn't matter because Marvin Vettori doesn't bleed, he doesn't swell, he doesn't cut, he doesn't get wobbled. So it really doesn't matter if the punch you threw looked harder when your opponent landed more punches while moving forward. Either way, I don't think it was a robbery, not a hill I'm going to die on. And if anybody comments like, you fucking, get the fuck, you dork. This was a razor-thin fight. This isn't an I told you so moment. This fight was super close. Anybody bragging on either side, if you're screaming robbery, relax. If you're screaming like, I told you, Brunno, relax. This was a razor-thin fight on paper and in execution. And it just sucks for Marvin Vettori because this is a guy that just a few years ago, he was top 5 on planet Earth. Top 5. Now he just lost to an unranked guy. He just lost to somebody who is nowhere near a title shot, nowhere near a main event, nowhere near a meaningful matchup in any capacity whatsoever. Bruno Ferreira is just kind of like a fun guy they throw on cards for now. And Marvin Vettori just lost to him. Do I think he lost? No. Did he lose? Yes. The problem, though, he hasn't improved at all. This Marvin Vettori is the same Marvin Vettori as last year, and the same as the year before that, and the same as the year before that, and the same as the year before that. If anything, I would argue he's regressing because he's not wrestling at all. He came into the UFC as a grappler, and he's not using it. He's turned into a striker. It's like one day he woke up and was like, dude, these guys can't knock me out. Look at it. These, they can't knock me out. My chin is ridiculous. You can hit me with a 2x4. Nothing's going to happen. So I'm just going to stand here. That's a lot easier than wrestling. Wrestling is a lot of work. And so he's almost regressed. He certainly has not improved. And that's what makes all of this so tricky when you look at Marvin Vettori, because it's honestly probably better for the division that Brunno won, because what are we going to do? Keep Marvin Vettori around the top 10 just to beat random up-and-coming prospects, but then lose any important fight? So maybe this is the wake-up call Marvin needs. He's still pretty young. He's still viable. He's still got a great chin. He's not washed by any means. Is he winning? No. I mean, his losing streak right now is spectacular. But he still can do more. When we talk about washed fighters, we're talking about people who get knocked out instantly. We're talking about people who are just worse to the wear and beat up and just suck now. And they're slow and they're awkward. That's not Marvin. Marvin's just one-dimensional now. And the dimension is get hit in the face and then hit his opponent. Bruno Ferreira, he's improving. He's certainly improving. His cardio in this fight might be the best cardio we've seen from him in the UFC. He continued to fight well into the third round. He didn't quit. He does still just chase the big overhands. He's just chasing knockouts. He's got to break that habit, land a little more cleanly, a little more routinely, be okay with a jab. Not everything needs to be just like an almost knockout, but this was an okay fight. It was pretty fun. There was back and forth. I'm curious what you guys think of the decision. And be a human. Be a human. Don't comment like, oh, just be a human. This was a razor-thin fight. Be a human. I'm curious what you thought going into it. Hey, I thought Marvin would win, and I thought he did win. Or I thought Marvin would win, but I agree with the decision. I'm curious what you think. If you're not reasonable, kick rocks. Then we had a fight that I will never get correct. I cannot pick a freaking Ziam fight correctly. The good news for you is I told you that. I told you that. I broke this fight down, 4 times. I did my early quick picks before the week off. I did my quick picks during the normal cadence. I did the live stream with Jacob, and then I did the DraftKings video. That's 4 times I broke down this entire card, start to finish, every single fight in detail. And I said very clearly, every single time, I can't pick a Ziam fight correctly. Somebody corrected me and said, hey, well, I knew I picked Terrance McKinney to beat him. And then somebody corrected me and said, hey, you also picked him to beat Matt Frevola. Great. I got 2 right. Lately, I have not picking them correctly because I just feel like, and I'm wrong, that Ziam's just a distance French striker who doesn't want to engage. And we kind of had that here. Before you jump down my throat, especially if you're French. Well, if you're French, you won't say anything because the French are soft. It wasn't, and if you're French, I'm sorry. Please stay subscribed. Don't be offended by my words when I'm making jokes doing a video. He didn't really engage. So Ziam came forward, would land, and as soon as Nazim was trying to get off, Firas was like, we're grappling. And that's a game plan, and it's a good game plan, and it was a very, very insanely successful game plan because no success was had on the Nazim Sadykhov side. None. He had no striking success. The grappling was useless. Because Firas did an amazing job of either staying outside, if he was inside, mixing up the wrestling. Firas did a very good job. He was well-trained, well-prepared. He looked very, very good. This is the best version of him I have seen. Because knocking out Matt Frevola is not anything spectacular. It just isn't. That's not anything spectacular. But doing what he did in Nazim, shutting down the striking, tossing him around, finishing him with strikes. This image may imply that he choked him out. He did not. He finished him with strikes. And he landed a massive elbow against the cage, which just sent Nazim to the canvas. The fight ended. It was an interesting situation because the referee called the fight at the end of the second round. And it was at the buzzer or after the buzzer. And people for a second or two were unsure. Is he just calling the round or is he calling the fight? And then Nazim stood up and was like, ugh, falling over. And was like, yeah, no, the fight's done. And the best part is the referee is a particular referee that lots of people have been accused of fixing fights, and some people for Twitter clout. You know how people just make shit up online for likes and retweets because somehow their self-worth comes from the number of impressions that they get on Twitter from strangers? Well, those type people were making up stories about this particular referee being investigated by the FBI, being suspended by the Athletic Commission. I think the Athletic Commission came out to make a point because I have never seen him ref more fights than this is literally the most amount of fights I have ever seen him ref. Ever. The most amount of fights I've ever seen him ref. And it was funny because coming into this, all the stories were Jason Herzog is being investigated. To the point where this particular Twitter account that was spreading these rumors, and basically what happened, if you don't know, the Isaac Dogarian fight was very clearly fixed. Allegedly, don't sue me, was very clearly fixed. And then a couple of Twitter accounts, or actually one particular BMAC, or whatever the hell his name is, tweeted a couple of things that were sensational and early on true. And then what I assume happened, which is what happens to most people on social media, is he got addicted to the attention. Went from a relatively unknown dude with 1,000 followers to all of a sudden his tweets are getting massive impressions and everybody's going to him hey man, what else is going on? Who else is the FBI investigating? Because it was a juicy story. And he was like, Jason Herzog. And he started accusing all sorts of people of shit. I believe O'Day Osborne was in the accusations. He just started throwing shit out left and right. Just saying shit. Turns out, the whole Jason Herzog suspended and being investigated. I mean, we won't know for years, but seems to be bullshit because here he is reffing fights. And Jason Herzog sued him. I don't know if he sued him for slander or defamation or libel. I don't know what he sued him for. And I don't know what his chances are of winning. But he sent a message hey, I know you want some likes and fucking retweets and impressions, but you can't make things up. Wild scene. But anyway, Jason Herzog made the right call here. At the time, it was dude, the round's over. Let him survive. And then when he stood up and he was a wobbly mess, it's okay, I get it. Good call. Then we had the return of Maycee Barber. Maycee Barber, which I went through in explicit detail, was very ill last year. She had 9 days in the hospital for some random illness. She doesn't even know what it was. Then she has a seizure in the locker room, only to find out, we found out on this broadcast, she was having seizures every 8 minutes and was literally hiding them in the corner. Like a child who pees in jars in their room and then hides them because doesn't want their parents to know. She literally was I'm having a seizure. Let me go hide in the corner. They won't know. So she's had a myriad of medical issues. I picked her to win this fight, and she did win this fight. But it was close. It was a dicey fight. But what was interesting here, the reason the caption says that was a glancing blow, and it should be a question mark, it was an exclamation point because the note at the bottom is from the mouth of the referee. Different referee than the one being investigated for nonsense, allegedly, which is also entirely not true. Maycee Barber was on top of Karine Silva. Karine Silva throws like an axe kick off of her back, just throws the kick like this. It hits Maycee in the face. Maycee's wobbled. The ref stops it, and Maycee's like a little like, whoa, dizzy. And it's funny because you could tell the referee hates women. You could just tell he hates women. And listen, I live with women. I've got 2 young daughters. I got a wife, and one of the dogs is a girl. I live with women. I understand hating women. The reason I'm rubbing my head like this right now is I spent a whole day with a bunch of women in this house. I am outnumbered. But Mark Smith hates women because as soon as Maycee Barber got up and was like wobbled, Mark Smith was like, that was glancing. Cut it out. Cut it out. Like he's just home with women all day, exaggerating shit, making shit up. Cut it out. That was a glancing blow. Cut it out. Only for the replay to be like, dude, that was fucking directly to the chin. There was nothing glancing about that blow. That was the most significant strike landed in this fight. That was a glancing blow. Cut it out. To the point, the Mark Ratner, like the UFC's rule guru, had to be like, hey, dickhead, that was not, stop saying that. That was not a glancing blow. I get you hate women. But shit, dude, that's not her fault. She got kicked in the face hard. So it was a kind of a wild scene. They did not take a point away. Again, hates women. He did not take a point away. And this fight was close because Karine Silva seemingly almost subbed Maycee Barber a few times, had her back, couple of tight positions, triangle. Maycee Barber on top landed like a savage, looking to finish with punches and elbows. This was a very, very, very close fight, and it seemed like Maycee was about to get screwed. And it seemed like we're going to need that point deduction, which we didn't get because Mark Smith hates women. And it ended up being a unanimous decision for Maycee. And that felt like the correct decision. But it is interesting. I'm curious what you guys think. So, I mean, I picked Maycee. I didn't bet on her, but I'm curious what you guys think because Maycee clearly was looking to inflict some damage. But it felt like Karine was actually closer to finishing the fight. So who do you score the rounds for? The person seemingly trying harder or the person who's closer to almost winning? Because Karine had Maycee's back a couple of times, had the triangle a few times, but when Maycee was on top, she landed clean. Like it was a very good, fun back and forth fight. I was surprised that it was unanimous and not split, but I am glad that the lack of taking a point away didn't screw anybody in this fight. And then we had an absolute banger. If I didn't break down this fight perfectly, I don't know what I'm doing here. Obviously, I said I think Terrance wins, but I also was like, dude, take that with a grain of salt. But here was the breakdown. The breakdown was, I am 100% sure Terrance McKinney will beat the fuck out of Chris Duncan for 2 minutes. And after that, I don't know. And my God, was that breakdown spot on. I mean, we were at the 158 mark before the tides turned. Terrance McKinney beat the fuck out of Chris Duncan. Sorry, kid show. If I'm cursing, just tell your kid, like, hey, kid, that's a bad word. I can hear it. I can say it. If you're going to hear it, you're going to hear it. Don't say it. Be cool. That's it. See, parenting 101. He beat the fuck out of Chris Duncan. I mean, it was what he was doing to Chris Duncan was just like a child. Just beat the shit. Then he got hit a couple of times clean, and all of a sudden, Terrance McKinney does what Terrance McKinney does. His chin gets a little wobbly, he starts to ball up, and that was the end of that. I also said in that same video, if Terrance McKinney had a chin and cardio, he would be a world champion. I stand by that. I stand by it. If Terrance McKinney had a little bit of a chin, had good enough cardio to go 15 minutes, he would be a world champion. He hits hard. His striking is accurate. He's got good wrestling, although he did get taken down in this fight. He's got great submissions. Like, If Terrance McKinney had cardio and a chin, he'd be a world champion. I've said it. I will continue to say it. Hopefully he got a bonus in this fight as well. I know he lost, but this is a kid that has all first-round finish wins. In the UFC, I think he has 7 first-round finish wins in the UFC. 7. It might be 11. He has 0 bonuses. This was a fun fight. This was an exciting fight. And every Terrance McKinney fight is a fun, exciting fight. Give him a goddamn bonus. Chris Duncan, I don't know how he continues to win. Building a career on your durability is amazing, and it defies the odds, and it's an insane thing to do. It can't last forever, right? Like, how many times is Chris Duncan almost going to be knocked out just to come back and win the fight before he's drooling in a wheelchair? How many times can this happen? I mean, he's going to be 40, looking like Stephen Hawking, and not because he's a genius, just because he got hit 10,000 times, but still stood and moved forward. The difference between a Chris Duncan and a Marvin Vettori, like a Marvin Vettori, you could hit him with a baseball bat. He's unfazed. It's like it didn't happen. I don't think his brain moved at all. There's no concussion because nothing happened. Where you hit Chris Duncan, he's like a wobbly mess. He is concussed. Something did happen. And then more strikes and more strikes and more strikes. And he just Homer Simpsons his way to a win. And it's crazy. It's crazy. So good for Chris Duncan. This is not the first come-from-behind win. This guy has built an entire career on it. So good for him. Spectacular fight. I hope they both got paid to all hell. I mean, absolutely great win for him. Poor Terrance McKinney just, man, I'm going to say screwed out of a win bonus. Hopefully not screwed out of a performance bonus. And then we had MMA's savior. I think we need to, somebody, if you're watching this and you know Manuel Torres' address, let us know. I would love to send them an edible arrangement, a beautiful Christmas basket. He saved all of us. Manuel Torres knocking out Grant Dawson and being done with, he ridded us of the wet blanket catastrophe that could have been a Grant Dawson extended win streak. Thank you so much. And it's the right time of year. We're about 1 year removed from when Bobby Green did it. Now Manuel Torres does it. And now here's what's going to happen. The first couple of fights of 2026, Grant Dawson will win in spectacularly boring fashion. Just unbelievably boring fashion. He'll win, he'll win, he'll win. He'll bore us to death. He'll get closer and closer to a big fight. And then whatever the next version of Manuel Torres is will come in, swoop in like Superman, and save us from the absolute boring nightmare that is a Grant Dawson fight. And this was the epitome of a Grant Dawson fight. This dude managed to make Manuel Torres, who is one of the most exciting guys in the division. Manuel Torres has never been to the 4-minute mark of a fight. He managed to make this fight boring as fuck. Now, thank God, it was only 2.5 minutes. But for that 2.5 minutes, it was just Grant Dawson staying a million miles away, shooting terrible takedowns and slowing the pace. And I literally was sitting there being like, I fucking tried to warn everybody. Grant Dawson is boring as shit. And thank God for Manuel Torres' uppercut. We appreciate you. You're doing God's work out there. Is Grant Dawson going to bounce back from this? Of course he is. He's a good fighter. He's well trained. He's got good wrestling. The striking's actually improved. He's a decent fighter. Now, Manuel Torres, it's a nice little win streak. Putting out Grant Dawson, or putting out Drew Dober, that's not an easy thing to do. Putting out Grant Dawson, that's God's work. So now he's doing the impossible. He's doing favors for the Lord. I don't know what we do next with Manuel Torres, but I'm here for it. Give me your address. I'll send you the nicest, like an edible arrangement that also has the flowers with the pineapple leaves and the right in the middle, the carved little watermelon circle that looks like I got you, dude. The nicest edible arrangement they have to you as an appreciation on behalf of all MMA fans everywhere. Then we had the main card opener. This was a banger. Now, every fight I just broke down, except for the Marvin Vettori fight, was a finish. Every single one was a finish. Even the late finishes were all finishes. We hit the main card. All the main card fights were decisions, except that's not really how it went down. I thought that's how it was going to go down. I was like, this undercard was too good, and we're going to hit the main card. It's going to be all decisions. That's not what we got. We did get 3 decisions and a fluke injury, but we got an actual finish in here as well. We had Jan Blachowicz taking on Bogdan Guskov to open up the card. They both knocked each other down. They both beat the hell out of each other. They both had random success. And the fight was a draw, and it should have been a draw. I thought Jan won the first round. Just felt like old man savvy is what the first round felt like. Just look at the leg. This is a good picture. I use this picture for a reason. Look at Bogdan Guskov's left leg. That calf is chewed to shit. And we had some success on the onside. Move forward, landed clean, chopped the leg. Move forward, landed clean, chopped the leg. Pretty close round, but it seemed like a Jan Blachowicz round. Second round, very different. Bogdan Guskov's coming forward, lands clean, drops Jan. I thought he was going to finish Jan. He was raining down strikes. He was almost finishing Jan. He was landing clean. He was landing elbows. There was one elbow he landed on top where Jan literally said, ow, and covered. To the point where I was like, oh shit, he broke his orbital. He broke the orbital bone. He broke his cheekbone. He broke his nose. Something broke in his face for Jan to yell, ow, and then cover it up. Something happened here. But maybe nothing happened because Jan just survived. Good old veteran, savvy toughness. He survived just to come back in the third round. Very competitive third round. Back and forth. You could tell Guskov was slowing down. He's not a guy known for his cardio. He's slowing down. Doesn't necessarily have that huge one-punch knockout power anymore. Trying to figure stuff out still a little bit. And then, with 5 seconds left? Maybe-ish? 5 seconds? Jan Blachowicz lands a big shot, drops Guskov, landing clean, fight's over. And here's our buddy, Jason Herzog, still employed. The FBI's not here preventing him from doing his job. He's not on the sidelines. He's not arrested. He's just here doing his job. Mr. I want Twitter impressions. And I'm not attacking that Twitter personality specifically, just the idea that people will just fucking say anything for retweets and impressions is crazy to me. It's crazy. Just saying nonsense. And if you're like a random troll account with a profile picture that's not a person, a username that's not a real name, and you're just, that's all you do all day long is like find random tweets and respond to horrible negative shit, whatever, live your life. But the person that is accusing Jason Herzog of being under investigation and sidelined and not reffing is not he's like trying to be a person. He's not trying to hide and make shit up. He's trying to be a person. And this wasn't a good, he got sued on Friday, and then on Saturday, he gets to see the referee. He said all these things about just out there working his ass off. That's got to be a tough day to be that guy. This was a good fight. It was a fun fight. It was a draw. Should have been a draw. Bogdan almost finished Jan in the second round by the new criteria. That's a 10-8. They adjusted 10-8s, if you remember 6 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. They adjusted how you scored 10-8. They made them easier to get. And that's what this looked like. It was if this was in the early 2000s, that's not a 10-8 round. Now, that's a 10-8 round. Bogdan gets a 10-8 in the second, lose the first, lose the third. This is a draw. Should have been a draw. One judge scored it for Jan. That's not crazy either. And you know what's funny? When they do, there's 3 judges for a reason. In this fight, very first judge said Jan Blachowicz wins. The second judge said draw. The third judge said draw. Why does it not go to Jan? Why is this ruled a draw? And I understand the majority, right? There's 2 out of 3. So 2 out of 3 said a draw. So we went with the majority. I get that. But you two pussies said nobody won the fight. This guy at least picked a side. So why doesn't the guy who picked the side get to be the... You pussies said nobody wins. In my opinion, whoever picked the side should be the one who we go with that. All right. No winner from you? Great. Get the fuck. No winner from you? Beat it, nerd. You? He won? Great. He won. Or expand it to 5 judges. No way you're getting a draw, a split draw or a majority draw with 5 judges, right? Then we had Payton Talbot and Henry Cejudo's swan song. Henry went out in his shield. He had moments of success here. Couple things that were important in this fight. One, Henry Cejudo, I am very glad they had a highlight reel for him. I'm very glad they had a send-off video for him. This was his last fight ever. If you're not familiar with Henry, or if you showed up post-COVID and you're like, yeah, I hear all the hype, but dude, Henry Cejudo was like an all-timer. This guy was an Olympic gold medalist in a year that America had no other Olympic gold medalists. Henry Cejudo showed up, represented America. He's Mexican, but he's American. Represented America, won a gold medal. He was not supposed to, but he did it anyway. A few years after that, he comes into the UFC, loses, wins a bunch of fights, then beats the all-time great Demetrius Johnson, goes up in weight, he wins the belt there, but then he goes ahead and he beats Dominic Cruz, who you could argue is the all-time great at that weight class. So he beat the all-time 125-pound great, the all-time 135-pound great, becomes a 2-division world champion, and he's an Olympic gold medalist. And then he retires. He doesn't retire because he retired because of a contract dispute with the UFC. He leaves for 3 years. He comes back. He fights Aljamain Sterling. I thought he beat Aljo. I did not agree with that decision. I thought he won that decision. After that, he fights Merab. That's a legitimate loss. He hasn't won since that 3-year, or actually I think it was 3.5-year layoff. But Henry Cejudo was an all-time great. They call him Triple C because he had 2 championship belts, 125, 135, and an Olympic gold medalist, Olympic champion, CCC. He was also the king of cringe. He adopted this personality before Kobe Covington to be like this cringy, not political. Kobe went the MAGA route where Triple C was just cringy and not clever either. So it wasn't always fun, but he adopted a personality. You could tell he's a good dude, but he's just trying to do something to separate himself. I loved Henry Cejudo. I still enjoy Henry Cejudo. I wish he would have won this fight just from a fan perspective. And he had some moments of success, right? At one point in time, he got tossed, landed in mount, won a scramble, landed a couple clean shots with that karate style, landed heavy. And I use this picture for a reason. One, it's respectful. Two, Payton Talbot's face is unscathed. And you can see Henry's face is bruised and battered. This is not because Henry landed no strikes. Henry did land strikes, and some of them were heavy. This looks like this because Payton Talbot's skin is made out of, true leather cowhide. Like, that dude didn't swell, didn't get red, no cuts, nothing. And Henry landed clean a bunch of times. It's not like he didn't land at all. Payton Talbot, as big as he is, with the power he has in his hands, that's why we have Henry's face looking the way it does. He's got power. He's big. He's absolutely improved the wrestling. He's got confidence. And he doesn't cut. This dude's going to do stuff. What I loved seeing from Payton Talbot in this fight is the fact that there were a few exchanges where Henry won the wrestling exchanges, won the scrambles, and Payton, as soon as he got back to his feet, just plodded forward, moved forward, got in Henry's face, was not afraid, didn't give a shit, was not afraid to throw. Was like, I'm moving forward. Do what you're going to do. I'm moving forward. Payton Talbot's going to be good. He's now ranked number 10 in the world. So giving him easy fights might not be on the horizon, but he's very good. So Payton Talbot's somebody we should keep an eye on for sure. He looked great in this fight, and Henry got to go out in the shield. Did he win? No. Do you want to see a fighter win when they're a retirement fight? Of course, but only Robbie Lawler got to do that. You can't count Khabib because he just retired early. If we're talking about fighters who retired a little late or when they should have, Robbie Lawler's the only one that comes to mind of somebody who won. The rest of them usually retire after a loss because they're fed up. But if we're talking about a fighter who said ahead of time, I am retiring after this fight no matter what. Henry Cejudo, at least he went out in his shield. Nobody's going to call him a bitch. Then we had a very tricky fight here. This is when the next two fights, this whole event kind of went off the rails. And let me remind you, myself and most other people paid $86 for this. $86. The last ever pay-per-view and a welcomed goodbye. And before you say, well, Canadians, sorry, sucks to not be American. Luckily, we got this deal. I believe Brazil got this deal as well. A few countries got the same deal we got where pay-per-views went away. Obviously not all of them. But also there was plenty of countries that were getting pay-per-views for free for years. I don't think the UFC, did the UK, did you guys have to pay for numbered events, or were they just on Sky? Or doesn't Sky have like a $10 subscription and it was included? I don't remember. Either way, I paid $86 after tax and process, $86 for this event. The first fight, Jan Blachowicz, Bogdan Guskov, pretty exciting. Payton Talbot, Henry Cejudo, decent fight. This fight, also decent until the ref stopped it too early. This was stopped too early. You are going to see, if you didn't watch the fight, you're going to see Tatsuro Taira KO'd or TKO'd Brandon Moreno from back mount. He was on his back, he was landing, and yes, he was on his back and he was landing clean. Brandon Moreno is all-time tough. First ballot Hall of Famer, tough. Show me a fight where Brandon Moreno quit or got smoked. Like, all-time tough and not stupid tough, right? Like, we have some fighters, like we just watched Sam Alvey and Robelis de Spain. Sam Alvey just took 11 years off of his life in combat karate by not going down, right? He took too good of a beating. He's too tough for his own good. Brandon Moreno's not like that level, or at least not yet. He's just very, very tough. And Tatsuro Taira, yes, he had his back and he was landing clean, but like, what the fuck? Mark Smith just jumped in, couldn't wait to end this fight. So now we have Mark Smith, who is telling Maycee Barber that was a glancing shot. Mark Smith, who ended this fight early, and Mr. Twitter, I want retweets and impressions, and I'm just going to say shit, is talking about Herzog? What are we doing? I thought this was an early stoppage. I imagine most people did as well. And if you're a Tatsuro Taira fan, you're like, no, it wasn't early. Can you just fucking, jeez, can you just be reasonable? Can you just be like, I thought Tatsuro Taira was going to win this fight. I thought he was winning this fight. But I also think that stoppage was a little early. That's a human response, okay? But there will still be non-humans, subhumans, lizard people, sewer people. There will still be people being like, I told you, Tatsuro Taira, that wasn't early. Cope. My God. Tatsuro Taira is probably going to win this fight. It felt like things were heading in his direction. Brandon Moreno was having some success with the striking, that awkward herky-jerky style. And the first round was interesting. The first round, and I'm curious how you scored the first round, because the first round was Tatsuro Taira initiates a scramble, and Brandon Moreno ends up on top, basically full mount. One of his legs is a little bit over, but he ends up on top, basically in full mount, rolls to his back, has Tatsuro Taira in a full-blown triangle for a very long time. He had him in a full-blown triangle for, 4 minutes, 3.5 minutes on his back. And then with 30 seconds left or 10 seconds left, Tatsuro Taira pops out, lands 2 punches. So the only thing that happened in the first round is Tatsuro Taira initiates a takedown. Brandon Moreno ends up in mount, meaning Tatsuro didn't get a takedown. There was like a half a takedown throw situation. Brandon Moreno ends up on top. If this is a wrestling match, he gets the points. He ends up on top because the leg is positioned in a certain way. He rolls to the triangle. He has that locked in for the vast majority of the fight. And still 2 judges scored that first round for Taira because he was on top. That's the problem with judging. Don't tell me wrestling doesn't matter anymore, Angelo. Angelo, wrestling doesn't matter. But then also tell me Tatsuro Taira won that first round, because I watched the first round. To me, I saw Brandon Moreno looking to finish. I saw Brandon Moreno hunting for a submission. I saw Brandon Moreno closer to finishing that fight. And I saw Tatsuro Taira just hanging out on top, busted his head out, punch, fight's over. Or round is over. Now, obviously, he ended up winning by finish because of the referee. I think the stoppage was early. I think Brandon won the first round. In my opinion, it should have continued. And in my opinion, we would have gone to the third 1-1. I don't know who would have won. Probably felt like Tatsuro Taira was taking over, but you just hate when the referees take that away from you. You also hate when somebody's arm snaps in half in such a disgusting way you have to turn your head away from the TV. This is a very unfortunate situation. It sucks. If you're a gambler, it sucks. Like if you're Jacob, if we go all the way back to the second slide, Jacob made a bunch of money on this card. Jacob did really, really well on this card. Jacob was up pretty well, right? He did well. He made money. Jacob did well. But then, all of a sudden, we end up in a situation where Alexandre Pantoja's arm snaps in half. Josh Van just got directly in his face. He was not afraid to engage. Josh Van moved forward, threw clean, and they were just swinging at each other. And nothing of any insane importance happened. They were just throwing, and they were throwing clean. And while throwing clean, Alexandre Pantoja throws a head kick. It lands. But Josh Van's got a pretty durable head. Maybe he's a little tiny Kelvin Gastelum. He's got a durable head. He catches the kick. He starts running forward. Pantoja puts his arm to brace, and the elbow goes in the opposite direction that God intended that elbow to go, and it was disgusting. And the UFC had every angle of it you could ever imagine. It was bad. It was bad, and it was quick. We're talking 26 seconds into the first round. 26 seconds. In 26 seconds, we had Josh Van move forward, throw some punches. Alexandre Pantoja threw some punches, threw a head kick. Head kick got caught. His arm broke in the other direction. And it sucks. It sucks. If you spent money like Jacob, Jacob is up big money on this card. He had 2 units on Pantoja. 2. No, did he have more than 2? How many units did he have on Pantoja? He had 3. He had 3 units on Pantoja. 3. And all that money's gone from a fluke injury. And the unfortunate reality is that's how it has to be, right? Like, it's not Van's fault that Pantoja's arm snapped in half. If it's a freak injury, should the casinos and the sports books give your money back? Maybe you can make a valid argument for that, but where's the line drawn? Like, this was obvious. This dude's arm snapped in half. Freak injury. But there's plenty of other times where somebody breaks a hand in the first round but then continues the fight. And then they lose a decision. Well, I broke my hand. That was a freak injury. So you kind of just, the chips fall as they may, and the casinos just roll with whatever the decision was in the fight. And the decision in this fight was that dude's arm is broken. Joshua Van wins by TKO. The sad part is Alexandre Pantoja is not young. We're talking about a 35-year-old man in a little guy weight class, so he's not young. This is going to be a year, at least a year away. At least a year away. So the bad news is this guy lost his belt off of a freak injury. He's going to be out for an extended period of time. I hope he made generational wealth because I don't know if he'll ever get back to the belt. Because coming back at 36, maybe even 37 after an injury this bad, you don't just bounce back. You lose a bunch of times and then you leave the sport, and we all talk about what if, what could have been. Look at Chris Weidman. Now, he wasn't the world champion when it happened, but look at Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva was the world champion when it happened. Anderson Silva was the world champion when his leg snapped in half. He was never the same after that, ever. So this is probably the end of Pantoja, and that's very sad. It also sucks for Josh Van because he is the current world champion, and nobody will give him credit. Nobody. And I'm not saying this like, oh, you need to give him credit, because do we need to give him credit? Did he earn this? Of course, he initiated the exchange that caused the arm to break, but did he earn this? And he's in a weird spot where he's now going to be fighting for the fan approval while also trying to be like, yeah, I'm the fucking world champ. And it sucks because he became the world champion, the second youngest world champion in the history of the UFC, next to John Jones, of course. The first ever Asian-born world champion. But he's now in a situation where people aren't going to give him that credit. They hoisted him. His coaches hoisted him up on their shoulders. They paraded around. Nobody clapped. Nobody cheered. They had one fan in the audience with a Myanmar flag. That's it. And that's the unfortunate reality of being Josh Van right now. Like, yes, you're world champion. That's spectacular. But you know how it goes. People aren't going to be like, that's my champ. Told you. And if you're saying, told you, you're a dork. A dork. Josh Van is the world champion. It's not his fault that Pantosha's arm broke. The good news, if there is an upside here, the good news is we now have a whole bunch of fresh matchups to make at this weight class, because if Pantoja won, which I thought he was going to, but if Pantoja won, what the hell's the matchup? Now what? Tatsuro Taira, who just lost 2 fights ago, who was losing to Alex Perez, who just got an early stoppage? Now we at least get Taira and Van. Early prediction, Van wins that fight. And then we had the main event. This was a banger. This was not the first fight. In the first fight, Merab Dvalishvili had 11 takedowns. Merab landed triple the amount of strikes. And a lot of people pointed out, oh, Piotr's shoulder. That's why. I don't think so. I think Merab was just the better fighter then. And I sat in this chair over and over and over again, and I said, if I look at the two of them, the Merab is the one who has leveled up more. And I'm not going to make excuses for him, because he didn't make excuses for himself. They interviewed him, and he said, I'm not going to make an excuse. He fought better than I did. I tried to put on an exciting fight, and he won. And good for Merab, because Merab could have been like, oh, my knee exploded 3 weeks ago, or I have lung cancer. He could say anything, and people would have booed him, and afterwards, nobody would have believed him or cared. Nobody would have cared. He could have said anything. He could have showed up with an x-ray, his doctor. He could have showed up with his seamstress who said, believe me, I'm the one who took up his pants. He lost his dick in a crazy hunting accident. And nobody would have believed him. So I'm glad he made no excuses. I'm not going to make excuses for him. Now, some people, not me, some people are saying he just didn't look like himself from the beginning. Some people said at the weigh-ins, his lips were purple. Some people said he was pretty ornery all week. And that's a fancy word for like in a bad mood. All week. He seemed off. And it seems like he did the UFC a favor to fight another time this year, just to lose his belt in a rematch. But I actually don't feel that way. That's just what some other people say. He definitely didn't look like himself off the rip. He seemed to actually get tired, which is not like him. He seemed to get tired. The takedowns are never very good. Like the illusion that Merab is getting 100% takedown. No. First of all, the way they count the takedowns is kind of bogus. At one point in time, they're like, oh, he's 0 for 9. 9? I saw 2 takedown attempts. In that 9, where the hell did the other 7 come from? 9? A feint is not a takedown attempt. So the stats are a little skewed when you see them, and it'll be like, 2 for 40. No. I would cut that by an eighth, honestly. But he still didn't seem himself. And now in the post-fight, he said, I tried to be entertaining. So maybe that's why. Maybe he wanted to strike more than before. I would say the couple of takeaways here are Merab's a gamer, dude. His face was a hamburger meat. It was bruised, bloody, battered. His nose was on the wrong side of the face. This guy was a disaster. And he kept moving forward. He kept fighting. All the blood you see on Jan's shoulder and in other videos and clips, there's blood all over his back. That's all from Merab's face. So he is tough. He's a gamer. He moved forward. Didn't matter. Cutting weight 4 times in 1 year is a big deal, and he did it. He didn't make a scene about it, and in the post-fight interview, he didn't blame that either. And Joe Rogan tried to get him to blame it. Joe Rogan said, Merab, you cut a lot of weight. How hard is it to make for 35? Basically trying to set Merab up to say, I know 4 weight cuts. Merab's like, I'm not making excuses. So good for Merab. And great for Piotr. Piotr looked good. Defended the takedowns. Landed clean. Was dotting up Merab. Having success. The real success here were the body shots. A couple of kicks to the body. A couple of just dug in with punches to the body. The body shots are really what fucked Merab up. Like he couldn't, like there's a rib broken in there and he couldn't really get a huge breath to do what he needed to do. Piotr looked great. The takeaway for me about Piotr is his confidence was great. He wasn't worried about the takedown attempts. He felt like he was like, I'll deal with them when they come. I'll deal with them when they come. When he shoots, I'll deal with it. I'm not going to worry about it ahead of time. The second thing that was impressive is, similar to what I said about Payton Talbot, this dude doesn't cut or bleed or shit. The amount of punch he took, dude, Merab's striking in this fight looked good. It looked good, and he landed big a bunch of times. And not one time did Piotr even blink a little bit. He just took his beating. And beating's a bit of an exaggeration, but he took the shots and he took them well. And it didn't matter. He just and kept fighting. Piotr looked fantastic in this fight. I think they need to do a rematch. I think if they don't give Merab an immediate rematch, what kind of dog shit organization are we running? He did you a favor. He showed up on a very quick turnaround, so on kind of short notice. He's a guy who has been given every obstacle you can imagine. The UFC is like, here's an Olympic wrestler, beat him. All right, fine. Here's a Dagestani, beat him. Okay, fine. And they just kept throwing people at him. He just kept winning. He took this fight. I'm sure he thought he was going to close out the year, make a bunch of money, and be done. You have to do the rematch. A, because this fight was fun. It was a fun back and forth fight. B, give Merab time to just heal. Let him heal. Give him the rematch. And if you're not going to give him the rematch, it's because he wants to take some time off and you want to turn Piotr around immediately. If I'm looking at the rankings, Merab's number 1 still because they haven't updated it. So Merab will be number 2. Number 1 will be Piotr. Number 3 will be Sean O'Malley. Well, Merab smoked him twice. Obviously, him and Piotr have some history, but he's coming off 2 losses in a row. He has to beat Song Yadong on the other side of the jump. Umar Nurmagomedov, that could be competitive. Umar's fighting Deiveson Figueiredo on the other side of the jump. I think he beats him. So that's probably who's going to get the title shot. Corey Sandhagen, well, I mean, he just lost to Merab. So throwing him in here is going to be a little tricky. Song Yadong, obviously, if he beats Sean O'Malley, you can do it. Mario Batista, he just lost to Umar, but like, damn, is he good. Deiveson Figueiredo, if he somehow beats Umar, but he just lost to Piotr a couple fights ago, so you can't do that one again. Henry Cejudo just retired. Now we're at the Charles Jourdains of the world. This weight class is a mess. Just give Merab the rematch. Great fight. I hope everybody made a ton of money. You, the fighters. I thought this was a spectacular event. I obviously wish the co-main event would have gone a little differently. I would have rathered he got knocked out cold with some flash fluky nonsense than have his arm snapped in half facing the wrong direction. A long injury, a road to recovery. At least if you knocked him out, you can celebrate that win. You break his arm, not in a submission, what are you going to do? Great fights all around. I love the event. Let me know what you guys thought about this event. And don't forget, if you want a couple of bucks, we'll give them to you. We have affiliate deals on the website. And if you go to this URL and you use the links, the affiliate links, they're going to pay us. And when they pay us, I slice off $50. I give it to you. We make a couple of dollars. They get a new customer. You make a couple of dollars. Everybody wins. We have a whole bunch of tools and insight and information on the website at WeWantPicks.com. And we don't have just next week. With our fights next week, we have the Royval versus Cop fight next week. But we also have 324, 325. The UFC announced a bunch of main events on this card tonight. And our tools on the website, like the data analyzer, our tools on the website, like the Fit Simulator, on the website, like the line movement tracker, like the Prop Hunter, like the Tape Index, all of those are going to be updated for the future. So if you want to check it all out, go to WeWantPicks.com. We're filming another vlog. I filmed one today for UFC 323. We're going to film another one for the holidays. If you want to send something for the vlog, send it to We Want Picks, P.O. Box 406, Prosper, Texas, 75078. I appreciate you. If this is the first video of mine you've ever seen, like, subscribe, do all the things. Thanks for being here. And let me know what you thought of this event. I thought it was spectacular. Maybe I'm reading the room wrong. I don't know, but let me know what you thought.